Sandy says in the last year, her 21-year-old daughter, Rayne, started shooting meth. Sandy, when did you first started having problems with your daughter? Was that a year ago or before then?
It started a long time ago. When she was little, she would like lie, and it would be over stupid things, but I couldn't get her to tell the truth. And she's such an attention person. And she wants things her way. And she once told me, we would get along just fine if you would give me what I want, when I want.
I want to go back a little further. So your biological mom, she was a drug addict too. How much do you think that affected you growing up and living with that?
I feel like it affected a lot more things than like what we really like touch on. It's more of a like, we just don't talk about it because of how ugly it was. Like me, I have 2 biological brothers and we're all 3 split up. Because when it comes down to it, she wanted to play mom, and then when she wanted to do her own thing, go out, go party, go do whatever the hell she wanted to do, she'd leave us with different people. She'd drop us off because it was all about her and it wasn't all about the kids.
15 months old, she was out of her mom's care.
Right.
So this is not like she was 8, 9 years old being left at different places.
So you adopted Rayne at 15 months old?
We got her in our home through foster care at 15 months old, and we adopted her at 3 years old.
So then Rayne, can I, wait a minute, hold on. No, we gotta have some clarity here. Because the way that you just told the story was that you was raised around your biological mother and you saw all the ugliness with the drugs.
No, but I hear stories from them.
No, you don't.
I've heard stories from them about how she was a bad, like how bad of a person she was, and like that she'd like do and everything.
She actually died when you were 3 years old.
Yes.
So the memories that you're carrying of her are not even your memories. They're apparently stories that you believe you heard, which Sandy is saying we didn't tell you.
I've never talked about her mother because it was ugliness. And I didn't want her to attach her identity to what her mother was.
So where does she get the stories from?
Her grandmother, step-grandmother. She's the one who tells her all these stories because Rayne goes and asks her all about what was my mom like. Well, I don't know that much about her mom.
Can I ask you something, Dr. Judy, on a professional level? I sat on the bench and I heard stories, and it seems like an addict, if they're raised with an addict or their parent was an addict, they get this sense of entitlement that they can be an addict too because it's a genetic thing. Is it a genetic thing or is it a psychological thing where it's okay, my mom and dad, they were dope heads, and you know, that's why I'm an addict, and I can't control that.
Does that get passed on to the child?
Yeah. When you have a biological relative who has been a drug addict, you do have higher risk than an average person. That doesn't mean that you can't escape that fate. It's not a one-to-one correlation. Just because you had a parent who was an addict does not mean that you ultimately become one, but it means that you have more risk towards it. And it's almost like you just took that in as your identity and decided that that's who you were, and you have an entire narrative about why you have the problems that you have.
That's not what it is.
She was raised in a home, no alcohol, no drugs,
we can't hear you guys,
no
both
smoking.
Let's hear Sandy out first.
We went to church every Sunday. We still go to church. If you're in my house on Sunday morning, you are at church.
Amen.
We had a structured environment for her, and I'm not saying we weren't silly and fun, but we didn't do drugs. We didn't do alcohol. We didn't smoke. We didn't, I mean, that's not who she was raised up to be.
And I know that Rayne, actually, we saw photos of you when you were little, when you were a child, under the age of 10.
Just as cute as can be.
Oh my God,
Such a sweet girl. And then your mom is saying that when you were 13 or 14, this is sort of when you started to slip.
Look at her, just a cute little pie.
And then when you were a teenager, that's when things started to slip. And in fact, meth was your first drug, which is very rare. Usually people kind of use alcohol, then another drug, and then they eventually graduate to meth. Meth was your first drug. So what happened around that time? What was going on?
I did stuff that normal teenagers would have done in that time period. Teenagers sneak out. Teenagers want to party. They want to go out with their friends. They want to do that stuff.
I wish I would have tried that in Evelina's house. Listen, just so you know, that's not normal teenager.
That was even before
normal teenager
doing meth.
behavior is that you start kind of flirting with boys and talking and stuff.
Like,
sneaking out to do meth?
That's my thing. Like, this was before doing meth and stuff. One friend introduced me to that.